Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Micah, Derry. I'm the State Director for Americans for Prosperity, Ohio. And I am very excited to have with us today Congressman Warren Davidson of the Ohio 8th Congressional District. Congressman Davidson has been wonderful to work with since he replaced John Boehner through a special election a few years back. And we also have with us Tom Fletcher with our Federal Affairs team based out of Arlington, Virginia. Want to introduce the congressman and share just a little bit about his background. The congressman is a member of the House Financial Services Committee, where he is focused on policies that help grow our economy, instill fiscal discipline, advance innovation, and limit runaway government expansion that threatens to bankrupt America, which we'll be talking about today. After high school, Congressman Davidson enlisted in the Army as an infantryman. And as part of the 3rd Infantry Division, he was stationed in Germany and witnessed the fall of the Berlin Wall. Warren's commanding officers recognized his potential and helped him earn an appointment to the United States Military Academy at West Point. He graduated near the top of his class as a student of American history and mechanical engineering. As an officer, he led in the Old Guard, the 75th Ranger Regiment, and the 101st Airborne Division. In other words, he is the Ohio version and slightly better than Congressman Crenshaw. After the Army, Congressman Davidson returned home, worked with his father, earned an MBA from the University of Notre Dame, and spent 15 years owning and operating manufacturing companies in Ohio. In 2016, he again responded to the call of service and went to work in the United States House of Representatives. Warren and his wife, Lisa, have been married for 25 years and have 2 adult children. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Micah. Nice to join you both.
Well, one of the things that we've been talking about and our grassroots community has been talking about, and you are particularly uniquely qualified to dig into, is this idea of the so-called infrastructure proposal coming from the White House and from the majority leadership. Talk to us just a little bit about what the difference between good infrastructure and the pseudo infrastructure is. And I think in particular, especially your background in manufacturing, you understand the need to be able to move around the country with goods. And I have to imagine, I think that in your district, probably about a good third of shipping probably comes through the Spence Bridge down in Cincinnati. As everyone knows, is something that is really crumbling and needs some serious work. We have some real needs. Why does this bill in the proposal that we're hearing about, why does it fall short of addressing the real needs?
Well, for example, it doesn't specify that it would even fix that project. But if you think about the Brent Spence Bridge, it goes through Cincinnati, has 2 major interstates and multiple highways that just convene right there across that bridge. About 3.5% of US GDP goes across it in a day. And, you know, it connects Ohio and Kentucky, goes over the Ohio River, a clearly navigable waterway. And so if there's a true interstate project, a federal priority project, that would meet the criteria. But, you know, this bill isn't really focused on that. It uses the name infrastructure to implement more progressive policy, just like the first big bill that the Biden administration passed. Their COVID relief bill was less than 10% related to COVID. This has less than 10% related to infrastructure. It's essentially a tax hike, progressive policy bill under the guise of infrastructure. And to be fair, some of it is infrastructure and some portion of it would be, you know, something that we could probably agree to do together if we could prioritize those parts of it. But, you know, the other piece is if you're real transparent about it, there's no way that the Green New Deal would pass even with Democratic majorities. Senator McConnell showed that last time in the last Congress by giving them a vote on a bill they say they support. This bill is essentially the Green New Deal dressed up as infrastructure.
I want to give a chance for Tom Fletcher. He's with our Federal Affairs team. Tom, you want to ask a question for the Congressman?
Sure. Thanks, Mike. And thank you, Congressman, for taking the time to join us. It's good to be with you again. I think one of the things that obviously that is troubling about this proposal coming out of the administration is the sheer size of it, right? I mean, we're talking about $4 trillion kind of divvied up into phases. And can you just talk about, I mean, I think we're already seeing it today, right? The implications of spending that amount of money, which is not ours, by the way, on things that frankly aren't going to necessarily go to, you know, like you said, roads, bridges, things that we would typically, you know, call hard infrastructure.
Yeah, look, there are big consequences to spending money we don't have. And when you look at, you know, the debt that the country already has, you know, we didn't get there because one party's great on the issue. One of the most bipartisan things is to throw money at problems. In a lot of ways, in spite of, or, the ability to solve the problem. Sometimes the problem persists and it just gets ongoing funding rather than a real cure. It's a lot like in the public health arena, everyone wants to focus on treatments instead of cures. And when you fix a bridge, then yeah, of course, there's still maintenance. But if you look at a lot of what goes on here, there's just money out there in perpetuity to kind of transform America's economy into something that it is not. And it is really a dependency on debt. And when you look at it, debt is bad, but look, there isn't a lender here. True debt comes from result of borrowing. And in this case, nobody's lending us the money. We're just creating it, which undermines and destroys the value of all the other dollars. That's why you see, all the concerns about inflation. You do infrastructure, you think of lumber. Lumber's up about 400% year to date. You're seeing it hit food prices, but you saw it first. Where did you see it first? You saw it in capital markets, where the S&P 500 was at record highs, while Main Street economy was really struggling. Who's going to get hurt the most by this kind of dynamic? Well, people on fixed incomes are really going to get hurt because as inflation soars, they don't have a way to grow their earnings anymore, but the cost of the things they need go up. So it is dressed up as this compassionate proposal, but it is not compassionate to bankrupt America. And this is a bill that greatly accelerates the timeline for that prospect.
Congressman, when we talk about inflation in particular, it is so difficult to find ourselves on what, for most of us, when we try to think logically, often we call out slippery slopes from other people. But when we talk about inflation, there truly is a chain reaction. You talk about lumber and the 4% increase in prices there. And I mean, that impacts everything from, I'm trying to build a workbench at home right now, and that has become a very expensive undertaking. Never thought that was going to happen, but all the way to with the way housing markets are right now, and with a scarcity of homes that are on the market, building homes becomes a much more expensive proposition. What do we run into when it comes to housing costs? That chain reaction is very quickly able to get away from us in a narrative when it makes us sound like we're just trying to create a doomsday scenario. And certainly that's not the case. We're going to have viewers of this both right now that are watching us live, but also they're going to watch us after the fact. They're all over the country. Tell us a little bit about what is the impact for your district. And much of your district is more rural here in Ohio, but you also have a lot of suburbs. Tell us a little bit about how does inflation impact your district?
Well, one of the big things, not just of inflation, it's hitting, as I said, people on fixed incomes in particular. And it hits, frankly, the working poor really hard as well, because, they're in the workforce, in the labor force, but the costs of the things they need are going up. The availability of housing or affordable housing gets more scarce. And when you look, just getting folks to work has been a problem, because the other thing this bill does, aside from spending money, perhaps an even worse thing is what they spend money on. And thankfully, governors around the country are starting to react by saying, no, thanks. We have to push back some of this toxic policy, because you can't really recover our economy with some of the disincentives that are out there. These are, big things, systemic things in terms of monetary policy, but down at the, rubber meets the road level, you're seeing, people that can't hire, people that are making more money not working than they were making while they were working, and people that are making money at a level where they can't really rationally go back into the workforce for the money that's available. And wages are going up rapidly. When you see the rise in wages, people feel excited at first, but the reality is that's going to come through in prices as well. So it is going to hit those at the bottom end of the wage scale harder than it's going to hit the wealthiest people. And frankly, the wealthiest people have already been paid by this inflation, because wealthy people have more marketable securities than wage earners do. And if you really want to study this, people watching it, Google the Cantelon Effect, and that kind of explains how the inflation works through the monetary system and how it benefits the wealthy. It grows the wealth gap, and a lot of the people that are pushing this know that it does that, And they see that as a feature because the answer is more government. They don't address, the underlying cause with their policies. They grow inequality, which feeds their solution, which is more government. And that is not the thing that's going to fix this. It's actually freedom and free markets that's going to fix this problem.
All right, Congressman, you just gave a lot of people some homework. Cantelon Effect. How do you spell it?
Cantillon.
See, and that's why we ask. Congressman, one of the things that our president Tim Phillips likes to do on these conversations is it's really easy to get caught up in that doomsday conversation. There's a lot of bad stuff that's going on right now that we're very fortunate to have champions like you that are helping push back against, and not just doing it from a party talking point position, but a principled policy perspective and a philosophy that is more than believing in personal and individual freedoms. And that's so important. But for those of us who are sitting from back in the state and we're only seeing what's on the news, we're seeing what's on Twitter and Facebook, is there anything that we can be hopeful about what's going on in DC and about the pathway forward?
Look, I think one of the encouraging things is CDC came out with an announcement that says, hey, if you've been vaccinated, you should start acting like you've been vaccinated. It took them a long time, but as I've said, science eventually beats political science. So look, they've tried to pretend that this wasn't the case for months now, but you had 29 states that had lifted their mandates. And the results were, hey, they're doing as well or better than states that have mandates in place. I don't know if we're going to go back and be able to do a good after action review and really get to the heart of the fact that states like Florida, where they had very limited mandates for the entire pandemic, outperformed their population. Their per capita, fatalities, their per capita hospitalizations, their per capita spread did as well or better than states that were incredibly restrictive. And so, I've said there has to be a way to protect the truly vulnerable while recognizing that the Constitution doesn't have a giant asterisk beside every provision within it. And the freedom that our Constitution protects has made our economy flourish historically. It's been crippled by the selective application of these policies, largely by governors. I mean, in Ohio, thankfully, our legislature did step in and reclaim authority they had surrendered. So I was expecting that Mandate Freedom Day was going to be June 23rd in Ohio. The great news is it's accelerated. So, there's good news out there.
No, that's absolutely the case. Well, Congressman, I understand you've got a busy schedule. In fact, I think that you have to go represent the people of Ohio for a vote here in just a few minutes. So as always, we want to give you the last word. What would you like to share with not just your constituents, but people across the country that are going to see this video?
Look, there are big consequences for printing money. And by printing it, I mean, it's created, not lent. There's no lender here. So it feels like we're getting away with something. We're really undermining the value of all the other dollars. And I think very importantly, we're undermining the value of the US dollar globally. So a lot of our success, a lot of our national security even depends on the US dollar being the global reserve currency. But the last time the planet had this much debt was at the end of World War II. We benefited greatly from that. That's when the US dollar became the global reserve currency. But if we don't watch it, people could start to select away from that. China and others, including the European Union, are pushing to decrease their dependence on US dollars and US dollar financial institutions. So we shouldn't act like we've got some free pass. There is no free lunch. You can't just print an unlimited amount of money without negative consequences.
Congressman, again, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate the work that you continue to put in. And I'm serious, Ohio's proud of you. We will take you over Dan Crenshaw any day, even if he does have the eye patch. But thank you so much. We appreciate what you do.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the shout out to Dan Crenshaw. Appreciate everybody lifting him up in prayers. He's dealing with consequences with his good eye, which turns out is not fully good in its current state, but a good man. And I hope he heals up quickly.
Always appreciate when America's elite continue on and serve elitely, even beyond. So thank you so much.
Thank you.